Hey, what's up guys, Adam here, and today we're going to be doing episode 6 of the budget video tips series. In this episode we're going to be taking a look at color correction and color grading. Now sometimes there can be quite a bit of misinterpretation when it comes to color correction and color grading, and a lot of people think it's quite a complicated task to go ahead and carry out, but as you'll find out in the tutorial, it's actually fairly straightforward to go ahead and do. So when it comes to color correction and color grading, there's absolutely no right or wrong way of doing it. Everybody interprets things, and everything is completely subjective when it comes to color correction and color grading. So there is no right or wrong way of actually going about it. It really depends on the actual effect you're trying to go ahead and achieve. So I'm going to be carrying out the tutorial using Premiere Pro, mainly because Premiere Pro is actually available on macOS and Windows, whereas Sony Vegas is only available on Windows, and Final Cut Pro is only available on macOS. So I thought I'll go ahead and go right in the middle and choose something that is actually compatible for both platforms. So let's go ahead and switch over. Okay guys, so I'm going ahead and open up Premiere. Now the good thing about Premiere is that it pretty much works on a very linear scale, so you can bring in all your clips and you can go ahead and start editing, then you can start on the effects and the color correction and then the audio, for example. So it's kind of like working on a production line for a car. You start off with the empty body or the empty shell and move slowly across until you have the finished product of the car. So I'm going to go ahead and mainly focus now on the color correction side of things. So there's two ways you can go ahead and get it in Premiere. The first way is by going to the Window tab, then you can go down to Workspaces and everything is accessible here. So you have Assembly, as I mentioned before, Audio, Color Correction, Editing, Effects, Meta Logging, everything is available here. Or alternatively, you can go down to the Video Effects tab. Then from here, you can go down to Color Correction and all of your color options are available here. So I like to go ahead and start off with brightness and contrast, mainly because a lot of the time when you go ahead and bring in some footage off a camera, sometimes it can be slightly overexposed or underexposed, especially if you've been shooting in manual mode. So I like to go ahead and start off by making some slight initial enhancements to the actual video by starting off with brightness and corrections. I'm going to go ahead and drag this onto my A-roll clip down here. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to the effects control where I can go ahead and make the adjustments here. So as you can see, we have brightness and contrast. I'm going to go ahead and start off with the brightness, mainly because as you can see behind my head, there's kind of like a very white, bright glow. So I'm going to try and bring that down by decreasing the overall brightness slightly, but not too much to the fact that the whole image becomes dark. So as you can see, if you look at the very far right bottom or bottom right hand corner, that is pretty much where all of the effects are being made, as you can see. So I'm just going to bring that down slightly. As you can see, the image will slightly get darker overall. As you can see, that kind of white glow that is behind me is actually calmed down a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and make some more adjustments to the contrast. Now the actual blue in my t-shirt is a lot darker than it appears on camera. So I'm going to go ahead and boost the contrast on that so you can see a bit more of that bluish color. That's it there. So as you can see, basically in the top left hand corner here, this is the original image. In the bottom right hand corner, those are the actual changes after you've gone ahead and made those enhancements. So that is pretty much how I go ahead and make my initial enhancements when I'm doing any sort of video work. Okay, so now I've gone ahead and made those slight changes in Premiere to the brightness and contrast. I'm actually going to go ahead and move back now to the effects control. I'm going to go ahead and drag over the fast color corrector. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that down onto the actual A-roll, and then I'm going to go back to the effects controller where I can go ahead and start making some more enhancements on those sides. Now I tend to go ahead and skip over the color wheel first, and I tend to always go down to the input levels first to go ahead and work with that. Now if you actually used Photoshop before, you'll probably be a bit more familiar when it comes to the input levels. Now the input levels basically works on the blacks, the midtones and the whites of any video, of any image. Now as you can see in my image down here, I've actually got a wide range of different colors, so this can completely actually depend on what I'm going to be working with in particular. So I'm going to go ahead and start up with the actual black channels because I have quite a bit of black when it comes to my image. I've got the PC behind me, I've also got the microphone stand, I've also got the outline of the monitor. So I'm going to go ahead and just touch that up a slight bit by just increasing the black levels ever so slightly. As you can see, it starts to make a slight change to the overall image. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go straight over to the white points. Now as you can see, the main white point within my video is more to do with the actual wall behind me. I'm going to go and try and bring that back a bit, just a tiny tad, mainly because the actual video is making my wall appear cream where it's actually completely white. So I'm going to go ahead and touch more of the whites back a bit. And as for the midpoint, I'm going to go ahead and bring that also back a touch, just to add a bit more of a darker aspect to my image. Now, just actually making those slight changes there, as you can see, the top left hand image, which is actually the original image from the camera, looks completely exposed in comparison to the actual bottom right hand image, which we've actually gone ahead and worked on by making those very few enhancements. As you can see, there's actually a massive difference in comparison. So now I'm going to go ahead and move up now to the color wheel itself. I want to go ahead and add a slight blue tint to the video. So I'm going to go ahead and actually drag the color wheel. I'm going to click and hold. I'm actually going to drag it down onto the blue side. As you can see, by just doing that, we get a kind of a blue tint to the video, which I think kind of looks quite nice in comparison to the orange look that I tend to get from some of the lighting. I don't know what it is with lighting, but sometimes, especially if you're shooting with a tungsten bulb like what I do, you tend to get more of an orange glow on the video. So I'm going to try and eliminate that by just adding a bit of blue hint to the actual video itself by just stretching out the color wheel as so. So I think at this stage I'm actually quite impressed with how the actual A-roll is turned out in comparison to the original image. I think I'm happy to go ahead and move on now to the B-roll. Okay, now, so moving on to the B-roll. If you're a tech YouTuber, you probably also tend to use quite a lot of B-roll within your footage. So I thought it'd only make sense to go ahead and actually add a B-roll clip within this tutorial. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the color correction tab here, and I'm again going to go ahead and get the brightness and contrast. I'm going to go ahead and drag it down onto the video in the timeline. As you can see there, I'm going to go back to the effects controller and make some more enhancements to the actual B-roll itself. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with the brightness. Now, the image isn't really overly bright, so I'm going to go ahead and maybe touch that just to add a bit more darkness to the image, just to give it a slight overlay of darkness there, not too much. Okay, I think that's going to be suitable for this video. I'm going to go ahead and go to the contrast now. Again, it's not completely out of contrast, but I thought I'll go ahead and boost this up a bit just to give you, just to show a bit more of the dark and light, just to show a bit more. Since it's a black microphone, I thought it makes sense to go ahead and increase the actual overall contrast of the black amongst the white background. So I'm going to go ahead and increase that slightly. Okay, I'm going to pretty much put down about 14. Okay, I think that's going to be all right. I'm going to go back to the effects now, and I'm going to go down to, again, the fast color corrector. Now, for this piece of footage, the actual B-roll is fairly simple because everything is black. So we have the PC that is black and the lamp that is black. I've also got a pen in the background which is also black, and of course the main subject, the microphone, is black, and you can kind of see off to the right there the lens is also black. And then you also have that by contrast on my white desk and my white wall. So everything is pretty much going to work really well when it comes to the input levels. So I'm going to go ahead and make some slight adjustments to the actual input levels. So I'm going to go ahead and boost the black slightly just to make them pop a bit more. As you can see, I'm just going to drag this along on the input channels. As you can see, they're not too much. I don't want to go ahead and completely bold over the actual microphone, so I'm going to just leave it there for now. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the whites just a bit more, just show a bit more contrast between the actual black items that I have on the table. So there we go. Again, all of the newer enhancements are made on the bottom right hand window, just for reference. I'm going to go ahead and make an adjustment to the midpoint as well. Just going to slide that a bit to the right. There we go. And again, since I'm going for a cinematic look, I'm going to go ahead and add a blue hint to the video, kind of a lightish, darkish blue I'm going to try and go for here. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that down again from the color wheel. As you can see there, I'm going to leave that there. As you can see, once again, we have quite an improvement from the original in comparison to the newer one. So as you can see, we have the original image there in the top left hand corner, and then to the bottom right hand corner we have the newer image that we've actually made up using those simple enhancements. So I think I'm fairly satisfied now with how this actual enhancement for the B-roll has turned out. And as I mentioned before, color correction and color grading is completely subjective. It could take you 5 minutes, it could take you 5 hours, depending on what type of look you're going for. But just like video editing, as long as you understand the underlying principles of color correction, you'll start to pick it up as soon as you practice with it each time. So it really depends what you're going to be going for with the video. Like for me, for example, I was trying to go for a cinematic look, and if I want to be more creative with this particular video, I can go ahead and add a vignette to the images to make it look more of a cinematic type of video. So now guys, that's pretty much been the end of episode 2. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you found it useful. Anyway guys, it's been Adam here. Thank you for watching. Take care, and of course, I'll see you guys in the next tech video. Bye for now.